It has been a wild ride since 2020, the advent of 2020, with the cerveza bug, with the shutdowns, with the supply chain issues, with the initiation of the major war in Europe, biggest one since World War II. If the past is any indication of the future, which it always isn't, but there's indicators that are leaning toward it being way worse, the next year and few years are going to be something else. It's going to be a wild ride, my friends, a wild ride. That's what I'm predicting here, because the indicators are looking worse. The indicators are not looking good for what's going to come in 2023. That's what we're going to talk about, 2023, and also a little bit of on into 2030. Why 2030? Well, that's a year that's been targeted by certain elites as a goal date to have, by the beginning of that year, their plans in place, already completely in place. That would be the the reset, that some of us will probably not think is quite so great. That's what they call it, right? Anyway, so guys, the problem is this: a lot of shoes have to drop for their dreams to pop. It ain't pretty. There's nothing pretty about it, in my humble opinion, because they've got to break the economy. They got to break the eggs to make their omelet, and their omelet's going to stink by most of our accords. So, my friends, I urge you very much to consider what to do. To consider, oh yeah, in this case, the moss is on the north side of the tree with the ferns. Maybe when it grows real heavy, that works, but the lichens don't really count. And I can find moss all around trees here. But, you know, that's more the exception here. All right, that aside, guys, we're walking in the woods here. We're taking a little nature walk and a talk. 2023 might be a rough year for you and me, because let's get into it. Like I said, a lot of shoes are going to have to drop from them. But, you know, you will own nothing. You will have no privacy, and you'll love it. Oh, fresh critter tracks right here, guys. Look at this. I see fresh tracks in the ground. Something is walking around, and they go right into the critter den. So that den is in heavy use, my friends. Guys, we have to stop some other roses along the way. It's the only way we're going to keep our sanity in this trying day. Keep that in mind. This is going to help you out to do these kind of things. Part of the solution is to get out in nature. May also be part of your survival. Let's get into it again. 2023, they have to make a lot of things change between now over the next 7 years. Yeah, we got 7 years to 2030. 7 years. That number is in the Bible, isn't it? It's going to be, I'm looking for a time of tribulation. Is it the time of tribulation predicted in the Bible? You tell me. It's going to take a lot of tribulations to get us to where some people want to take us. That don't mean we're going, though. At least not according to their plan. Best laid plans of mice and men. Guys, it isn't written that they're going to get everything they want. And in fact, in the end, we win. But it's going to be a rough ride. That is the bottom line. That's what I'm looking at. A potential really rough ride. So let's get into the different elements of it. Let's start with war. You know, I've been covering that lately a lot because it's not pretty. It's not looking good. War is ramping up right now in the European theater with Russia and Ukraine. Russia looks like they're poised to launch a major offensive. They're just trying to get all their stuff in gear, all their people and resources lined up. They're not quite there yet, but they are putting a lot of missile attacks into Ukraine to soften Ukraine up, and they're sitting there absorbing a lot of hits from the Ukrainian army. And even if it looks like the Ukrainian army is winning, they are losing people every time. It's harder for the Ukrainian people to replace their soldiers than it is for the Russians, because they have a smaller population base to draw from. I painted this analogy with a north-south analogy. Let me move the camera around so I won't be shining in the sun. North-south analogy with the war between the states. South was winning first couple of years. South had good soldiers, good generals, but we didn't have the manpower, the materials to see it over the long term, and the North won. I see the same kind of scenario between Russia and Ukraine. So, and it may not take 4 years to play out in that case, although it might. I see a long war. Problem is, there's great chance of pulling NATO into it. And in pulling NATO into it, we can get pulled into it, whether we like it or not. We might wind up part of this conflict. And therein lies the risk, my friends, because we're already very much invested in this conflict, and we may wind up in a war that might go thermonuclear. That's a possibility. Not saying it's going to happen, not saying it'll happen this year, but things are not looking good. You look over in Taiwan right now with China and Taiwan, the tensions are really ratcheting up there. We just had a Chinese fighter jet fly within maybe 20-21 feet of an American KC-135 reconnaissance plane, which was flying legally within the international domain. And that plane, our plane, had to divert its flight path to keep from having a collision with this Chinese fighter. So my friends, this is not a pretty picture. They just flew 70 some odd combat planes into the Taiwanese airspace back a few days ago. So it's just constant, guys. The tensions are ramping up. Xi Jinping is telling his guys to be ready for war, and that may be coming. He is really telling them that. The propaganda in China reads like the kind of propaganda you expect right before you launch a war. So I've talked about that in previous videos. Other people have talked about that. So you look at China and India, that's not looking good. Pakistan and India has always been a flashpoint. Pakistan's a lot of internal issues right now. Iran and Israel. You look in Kosovo with Serbia, Greece, and Turkey. The prospects for war abound all over right now. We haven't seen it look this crazy since World War II, guys. It's not pretty. It's not at all pretty. And there's a civil strife right here in the United States. A lot of people would like to take that to escalate it up to a war state. I hope if we do manage to split ways, we can do so peaceably. It's doable to do so peaceably, but I think there are those who would not want to see things so peaceable, it seems. So here's the problem, guys, with that reset I was talking about. There are those that have those plans. They want a new order of things. But you know, that order does not include you having personal property. It does not include you having personal freedoms. It does not include you being an individual. You having any degree of independence. What it includes is you being totally dependent, and you having to take whatever they tell you to take, and whatever way they tell you to take it, and think what they want you to think, pretty much. So my friends, that's not the kind of situation we want to see, in my humble opinion. Now there may be those out there who think that's the ideal thing, but I am not a big fan of that club. I'm somewhat not quite buying that, if you know what I mean. I'm trying to be charitable here. There's no well out here in the woods. Somebody tried digging at one time. Anyway, so yeah, this is the walnut tree, the kingdom of the walnut. I've done a lot of videos from here in the past. So my friends, let's get back to it. The situation for civil strife in this country is real. What I've been getting at here is this, guys. What's standing between their dreams, the dreams of those who would put things in a reset, and what's standing between them and their dreams is you. It's the people that love freedom, the people that don't want to be part of that. It's me and you. You and I suppose I should say, right? So my friends, that's why I expect problems. That's why I'm expecting trouble. You know, they tried to contain the media some time back, but we found social media. And then they've tried to find ways to use social media against us to shut down free speech on social media. And that's come out in the Twitter files, big time. You know, they would have called that false information, but guess what? It's been busted. Hello, so walnut tree here. It has been busted completely, and not by me, and that's the data that has come out, the files that have been released. And our big agencies of the state, it's a little on the deep side of things, if you know what I mean, without trying to say it so directly, and critters around here, is been behind it. And my friends, that is like way beyond Hatch Act violation. So something ought to be done, in my humble opinion. In my humble opinion, there should be some heads rolling in the halls of the administration, in the halls of the agencies. But anyway, all that said, we're what stands between them and their dreams. So war and civil strife, I'm expecting in spades, because that helps break the system. It helps break supply chains, break economies. It helps disrupt this distribution of fertilizers, which help to grow food. And that's the next topic, food. Food. Well, we've already seen some issues with food. Go look at the price of eggs right now and see what they're looking like and tell me that things are normal. Some people tell me, oh, Greg, everything you predict, nothing ever happens. Well, look at what prices of food have done over the past year in general, just the prices. Now go look at the price of eggs right now and tell me that things are normal. Just tell me that. Go ahead. So look at the what's happening with fertilizer. We still have fertilizer issues. We're going to have fertilizer issues. Ukraine is going to have issues getting crop out. They might get a little bit out, but they'll never get out like what they was doing for some time to come. Even Russia won't be exporting what they were exporting. And we've just had this big weather system move through here that seems to wipe out a lot of our winter wheat, maybe 20 to 30% of it. So we can't expect that our source supplies are going to be as good as they are. Don't mean that we'll be doing without it. It means you'll be paying more. And there may be spot shortages. I love these big old vines, guys. These grapevines. We're in Vinland, my friends, my Viking friends. This is Vinland, big time Vinland, and in the kingdom of the walnut, Vinland. So, my friends, these are things to contend with. These are things that are real. You can do stuff about the food, though. Grow your own. I'm always telling you to grow your own food. And you may say, Greg, I live in an apartment. I can't do it. Well, you can grow in pots, container pots inside your apartment. And, you know, watch the videos I got up on growing microgreens inside my living room. It's doable. You can grow food as much as you can, because you don't know what the availability is going to be. Oh yeah, and you can always go to prepwithgreg.com. Right now, the 1 month supply is probably the best deal. It's got $100 off for a 1 month supply. That's an incredible deal right now on that, guys. Check that out. Here's another critter den, my friends. I actually smelled polecat in here one time. This one is fresh. This one is in use. This, guys, this dirt is freshly moved around in here. That is an active critter den. Oh yeah. And the critters are actively going outside around it. Active critter den. So that's why it's good to get out here. Food supplies, guys, are going to be a challenge. It could get a lot worse, especially if this war expands. But look, you know, it's not just war, it's not just fertilizer. Look what's happening in the Netherlands. They're just shutting farms down for the environment. We're doing it for the environment because we got to do this to meet the environment. Netherlands is the biggest food exporter in Europe. The second one, I'll be the second biggest in the world. And they're just shutting them down. 3,000 farmers. You got to be kidding me, guys. All for the sake of Greta and her club of Greta. Guys, it's part of the forum that's not so economic, but it's definitely worldly. The Klaus Schwab. Anyway, guys, so that's what we're talking about, my friends. Yeah, I'm using some code speak. If you don't get it, I'm sorry. There's plenty of opportunities out here if you have to come out here in the woods and survive. Check this out. A lot of pine down. And look at all these places. I see two deadfalls that are leaning up against trees. This one's naturally lodged in a notch. You might press it down a little bit to get it better lodged in here. This would be an ideal place to throw up a bunch of sticks to make you a lean-to or a tent type structure. Throw all this straw up over it and you could have a shelter. Have your entrance right here on one side, maybe coming in and out and going out. It's just enough room. You can put a bed in there and lay down, stay warm. Maybe come out here and make a fire. Have your entrance right there and have a little fireplace right here to scare these critters off, and like the critter den skunks that might want to come in and nibble your toes at night. Or Sasquatch, it might be out to steal your beef jerky. So anyway, that's what we're talking about, my friends. So let me get on into it and talk some more here. Food, economics. You know, we still have supply chain disruption. You know, I almost can't find any distilled water at drugstores or grocery stores. It's hard for me to find spring water in gallon jugs. You know, I use distilled water. Now, guys, I use a CPAP machine, I'll be honest. I use still water, really helps for that. But you just can't find it in stores. It took 2 years just to find 91% alcohol. And I used to like it with those little screw-on caps that had the pop tops that you could squirt out. And those weren't even available for a long time. And now that some of that stuff's coming back, but there's things that just aren't available. There's things that are still in shortage because the supply chains just haven't got back to normal. Stores don't have the hours they used to have. Labor's not what it used to be. Finding people to work is not what it used to be because things are different now. We've had a reset in the economy. A lot of people got those checks as stimulus, and you know, they just kind of lost interest in being part of the workforce. And here's where something was digging around, foraging. A lot of foraging signs out here, guys. There's deer out here. There's skunks. There's squirrels. There's we've got turkey back here. A lot of foraging signs here. We've got possums and raccoons. A lot of raccoons back here. There's a lot of critters around here. Now that might be good for a week or two after the grid goes down, but shortly after that, all the big critters are going to get wiped out. There's so many people out here with big nugs that there just isn't going to last long at all. So if you're counting on that to live by, don't count on it. You do need to understand growing your own food, and you need to understand how to forage from the wild too, with the plants that are available. I've done videos on that, and I said that's a good fresh dig right here, guys. Something's been digging in there. You just find this stuff all over right here in the woods. Animal signs. That could be useful for trapping. The smaller varmints are going to be a lot easier to procure food from if you're looking for protein sources. Those will last longer than the big ones. So the economy, guys, if you look at the Schiller price to earnings ratio, PE ratio, in the stock market, you're going to find that it's really high. It started to drop a little bit because the stock market has dropped some, but it's still way overvalued. I expect the stock market may well crash. A lot of people are predicting that right now. A lot of people are predicting a major stock market crash. A lot of people are predicting economic mayhem from many different angles. So that's just something to expect. The economy looks really iffy. And also, if you look at disease, guys, you know, we had this pandemic, whatever you want to call it, pan or plan. we had shutdowns, the government reaction to it. There was a lot of dimensions to what just went down. What's coming next? You know, they just did an exercise, guys, for another one. And on top of that, we know that Boston University devised a new version of this bug, this 80% fatal. 80%. I did a video on that, on Boston University's bug, the Boston bug. I know they have Boston beans, but guys, this is obscene that anybody would do this kind of research. And a few years ago, before that, there was development of human transmissible bird flu in Indonesia and in the Netherlands. I guess Indonesia is a paragon of being able to contain organisms in labs. Maybe better than China, eh? In the city of Wuhan. I don't know, my friends. And there's always the possibility that something could evolve natural. So, you know, there's two kinds of disasters, guys. There's man-made and natural. Over the past 3 years, we've seen a good heaping of both. Natural is generally called the acts of God. And if we're going in that 7-year period, it might indeed be just that. So brace yourselves, guys. Brace yourselves. 7 years till they're till they're reset. 7 years from now. 7 years. That's the measure I read out of the book. 7 years. And the chapters describing what happens in those 7 years are mind-numbing. Mind-numbing. Is that what's coming? Are we into that? Are we into that era? Guys, I'll leave that to you to decide. I'm just saying that we got 7 years until their deadline, whatever that means. 7 years until their deadline, guys. So I'm expecting the shoes to drop. And with expectation of shoes to drop, the one thing you should know is to get ready, be prepared. Like I said, grow your food, learn to do wild foraging. I got some videos on both. And, you know, I haven't done a lot of gardening videos lately because y'all don't really like it when I do them. Don't get a lot of watches and to get unsubscribers. But there's a lot of gardening videos in my earlier videos. If you go back to my older stuff, they show you. And if you go to greengregs.com, and hit the site's a little messed up. If you hit the Buy Worms button, it will take you to a page where there's a lot of tabs across the top of the page at work. And on that page, you can find the videos on gardening, you can find a whole series of videos on worm farming, and you can find just a whole series of videos on wild edibles, kind of stuff you're going to need to know to get by when times get bad. So I highly encourage y'all to do that. And while you're there, buy some worms. Why? Because worms will help you to recycle your kitchen waste, your lawn clippings, just, you know, plant pieces and things like that you normally throw away and put in a landfill, which is good biomatter. Don't belong in a landfill, it belongs back in growing food. So it gives you a good chance to keep our nutrients in our cycle and to recycle and to grow your own, guys. And you don't have to go to the store to buy fertilizers if you follow all this stuff I covered. And here's a live tree, guys, that is making a practical lean-to here. It's got a steep angle on it. This is a little higher, so if you built a shelter on this, it would actually give you more headroom. So this is available for somebody who wants to build a shelter. And if you want to build a fire, right next to it, it's got that good fat wood I was talking about, which I always called rich pine. There's going to be plenty of rich pine in there. You might have to dig it out. It's got some rotten pine on the outside. This log will have good rich pine within it. So this is what you need, guys, to keep yourself warm in the wilderness should you have to go maneuvers. I want to talk about stuff like that. The day may come, we may have to leave our homes. I mean, I believe in bugging in as much as you can, but the day may come that we may just have to leave. Now, something's been rubbing on this tree. Right in here, up here, up here. This tree's been getting some rubbing. Was it deer? Was it antlers? Well, it's some pretty wide rubbing, like something scratching on it. Maybe Sasquatch. Anyway, that tree is somebody's rubbing post. That tree's a popular rubbing post. I may have to remember if I get back here with my back itching. My back gets itching. I know where to go with twitching. So my friends, that's what you got to keep in mind. Garden, prep, get your long-term food storage set up. Pile it high, pile it to the rafters if you can. Make sure you got means to protect yourself and your family. You know, the nugs. Nugs get hungry. They have to have a lot of kibbles to eat, my friends. A lot of kibbles for those nugs, if you know what I mean. So keep all that in mind. And yeah, this winter, I may have lost my garlic this time around. I'll do a video on that real shortly, maybe tomorrow or the next day, showing you my garden, my greenhouse. I've been working on that. I think my worms are in good shape. Got a lot of worm beds. Oops, sorry about that. Right here. So you can buy worms from me, greengrades.com. Just done some repair on some of them. This one had we had concrete around the outside of it, but she should be good now, ready to run. So there's always work to do on the worm farm. Always a lot of work to do. So my friends, do check me out. All right, I've went on enough. In short, what are we looking for? I say the chances for war have increased. The chances of economic disruption have increased. The chances of food scarcity have increased. I would say that there's still chances of more pandemic, whatever you want to call it, plan or pan, whichever the case, by nature or man. It's not looking good, my friends. So I hope all this is wrong. And, you know, good Lord willing, maybe we'll get through all this. I do have hope for the future. That's why I got another channel, Galactic Rays. I cover space stuff, and that's why I grow microgreens in a trailer, which requires electricity, and I'm building a mushroom house. I'm not giving up on the future, guys. I'm just getting ready for in case it gets bad, because the probability of it getting bad is extremely high right now. Look here, guys, if you want kindling for your fires, see that pile right there? Stuff like that would be ideal. You know, root balls like that tree that's down back there. That'd be a good place to throw a camp up against, an old root ball like that, in case you have to go maneuvers. These leaves right here, a little damp since it's rained so much, but those would be nice dry leaves hanging up like that. That might help a little bit in the fire, but they'd tend to smolder. So just a lot of stuff to take into account, my friends. A lot of things. And here we are. Here's my worm farm. Sled beds, a couple more of those. My trusty watch cat. You can see my greenhouse. We've been working on it. The spires are in a better place now. Been working on them. Got my barn up there. My mushroom house is up here. Yeah, it looks kind of messy out here with all these containers for raising worms in. Got my log barn over there. Rabbit hutch over here. I've got a homestead, guys. I've got a homestead here. I highly encourage you to try to homestead as much as you can. As much as you can. And maybe have a, if you want to have a bug out, you better have a bug out plan. A place to go. And then you better have plans for just how to survive and maneuver in the woods if you have to. I know some of us are elderly, getting elderly, and it's a little bit of a challenge, but think about what you can. And with that, I'm going to say thank y'all for watching, and Greg out.